Are you a fan of the Vampire Diaries? Did you end up feeling absolutely empty once you finished watching the series finale of the show back in 2017? Today, we've concocted 10 different potions with more or less the same ingredients, which will give you feels similar to the ones you used to have while watching your favorite supernatural show. Here's a list of shows to watch if you love the Vampire Diaries. First on our list is Pretty Little Liars. Okay, so right off the bat, this isn't a supernatural show, which is the reason why we're mentioning it so early on. Pretty Little Liars is a show about friendships and deceit, murders, mystery, and the absolute fear of having your secrets outed by an unknown threat who terrorizes the protagonists, haunting them as their former best friend who went missing. The show is filled with terrifying moments with real lives at stake, just like in the Vampire Diaries, and there are a lot of deaths in it too. It even has people coming back from the dead, but not quite in the same way. There are some pretty steamy moments too sprinkled throughout the show. Oh, and the morally ambiguous actions of the four main girls, Arya, Hannah, Spencer, and Emily, just makes them all the more real and likable. Does that not remind you of literally every other character in TVD? If it's the overall gloomy vibe with a lot of sarcasm and moments of humor engulfed in a veil of darkness that you love about your favorite vampire show, then you're definitely going to love PLL. The series lasted for about 7 seasons and concluded the same year as the Vampire Diaries. Next up, Shadowhunters. A big part of Vampire Diaries were the hunters, and if you found yourself compelled by their arguments that the supernatural caused destruction and death, then you might want to give this show a chance. The show has plenty of vampires, werewolves, and witches, sorry warlocks, the Shadowhunters either fight or form alliances with. It's pretty amazing. The Netflix series focuses on a female protagonist, quite like Elena Gilbert, who finds out that she comes from a long line of Shadowhunters, and that she's supposed to be protecting people from the evil supernatural beings. And of course, there's a lot of romance and some love triangles for you to enjoy too. The show ran from 2016 to 2019 and has 3 seasons in total. Next on the list is True Blood. Sookie! This show has got to grab your attention with its super hot vampires and interesting storyline. From 2008 to 2014, fans of the show cherished each episode and were obsessed with Sookie's love triangle with Eric and Bill. Who is Sookie, you ask? Well, Sookie Stackhouse is a beautiful waitress who lives in Louisiana and doesn't feel like she fits in anywhere. Oh, and she can read minds. Yes, it gets better. She falls in love with a handsome and really charming southern vampire. That's it. That's all you get. You're gonna have to watch the show to learn more, and honestly, it is absolutely worth it. The show is like the Vampire Diaries in a lot of ways, but it really holds its own and has a completely separate and equally enthusiastic fan base. Now we have Buffy the Vampire Slayer. If you want to get a more 90s retro vibe, then this show is for you. It aired from 1997 and concluded in 2003. The show was so deeply loved that it even spawned a spin-off series. Buffy the Vampire Slayer follows, well, Buffy, who comes from a long line of slayers who work to keep the world safe from dark supernatural entities like demons and, you guessed it, vampires. There are a lot of fans of the Vampire Diaries who might already be familiar with Buffy and her vampire slaying. In fact, there are several references in TVD to the series as well. For instance, Damon referring to Elena as Buffy as she trains to slay vampires. That one's our favorite. The show has some really likable characters, and they have intriguing storylines that you might just end up loving. Up next, Riverdale. Riverdale is kind of really popular, but we're including it in our list for those of you who haven't yet given this show a chance. If what you loved about the Vampire Diaries was the fact that Elena and the gang were all supposed to be teenagers running around having all sorts of crazy experiences, then you might really like Riverdale too. If you don't already know, Riverdale is a dark television adaptation of the Archie comics. The show has all of the original Archie characters who are always up to one insane adventure after the other. Even though there aren't any supernatural creatures present in the show, its quality of always managing to keep the audience at the edge of their seats is why we believe you are going to love it. Oh, and there are tons of supernatural moments in the series that you can look forward to. Next on the list, the originals. If you know Klaus Michelson and his equally sexy-looking siblings from the Vampire Diaries, then you might really want to give this show a chance if you haven't already. It has exactly the same kind of supernatural beings and elements that fans loved watching in the Vampire Diaries. Plus, it gives people a deeper look into the lives of the Michelsons, the original vampires who were responsible for creating every other vampire out there. I mean, Klaus and his fam are the reason why we were able to get Stefan and Damon Salvatore. Why wouldn't you want to give a chance to those responsible for it? The show introduces a lot of new characters, is filled with sibling love and even more hatred, and they took Phoebe Tonkin's Haley along with them, so there's that. Oh, and there's a tiny, adorable baby in it too. And Cole Michelson also comes back a bunch of times. So what we're saying is, there are a million reasons to watch the show, and none to continue living a deprived life of having no originals to fall in love with. Next up, Teen Wolf. Oh boy, Teen Wolf often gets compared to the Vampire Diaries because the show centers around a small town where a bunch of teenagers get thrusted into the supernatural world, and as the show moves forward, they come to realize just how far their town's relationship with the supernatural goes. The show is based very loosely on an 80s movie with the same name, but essentially, it is just a wholesome series which celebrates friendships, love, and has a whole lot of werewolves and other creatures in it. The romance element of the show is really intriguing, and there are a lot of steamy scenes and brooding hotties for you to thoroughly enjoy. The show also has a touch of humor in it, which is brought mainly by Stiles Stilinski, played by the incredible Dylan O'Brien. You're gonna love the show, really. Now we have Once Upon a Time. Well, Once Upon a Time doesn't have any vampires in it, but the show is essentially a modern retelling of several classic fairy tales and involves a lot of characters we grew up loving. It also shows a different side of a lot of the villains we used to hate for being vile and perpetually evil. Some of the characters in the show include Snow White and Prince Charming, the Evil Queen, Captain Hook, and Rumpelstiltskin. The show transitions between the modern-day world and the past, when all of these characters used to live in the Enchanted Forest. It makes for really entertaining TV and has a lot of magic in it too, just like the Vampire Diaries. Next is Supernatural. Supernatural ran for 15 seasons and ended in 2020. The show has a massive fan base, and for good reason. The show follows two brothers, Dean and Sam, who might remind you a lot of Damon and Stefan. Their dynamics are quite similar, and so are their personalities. Dean is more fun and has a lot of unhealthy habits, and he loves the ladies, while Sam is the younger brother who enjoys studying and research and wants to have a meaningful life with the girl he loves, and is a lot more by the book and brooding as compared to his brother. The two are not vampires, although Dean does become one for a while, but they definitely have a direct connection with the world of the supernatural. Duh. The brothers grow up without a mother and a strict father who forces the boys into the family business, which is saving people and hunting things. It is really worth watching. Lord knows some of us have gone back to rewatch it a couple hundred times. And lastly, legacies. If you stopped following news about the world of TVD after the show's finale, then you're in for a big surprise in the form of yet another spin-off from the show. Not only does Legacies have all the best elements of the Vampire Diaries, the show is also based in Mystic Falls. It features the children of some of our beloved characters, like Hope Michelson, as well as Alaric's daughters. In fact, Alaric, Jeremy, and Klaus have all made reappearances in the show, and Claire Holt is expected to reappear as Rebecca in the 4th season of the show. Nostalgia, plus intriguing storylines with a new generation of some of the former residents of Mystic Falls. What more could we need? That's a wrap for this video. Have you already seen some of these shows? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. See you in the next one.